Hey guys, this week I've got a bit of an odd one for you. This is my daughter's birthday cake, which she pretty much designed herself. So she provided me with this mood board. We have the outfit of King George III from Hamilton, and a penguin called Roald from Animal Crossing, complete with the green triangle pattern, which is apparently the grass from the game, and a crown, which I'm not sure if it's from Animal Crossing or if it's just an emoji. Then we have the Hamilton style font. So I put this all together to create King Roald. Now, as it's only us eating it, I'm just making a 5-inch cake and I'm stacking up the layers of cake with filling, which is my usual 4 layers high. I'm wanting to start rounding it out because it does have a quite round, chubby body. You just want to trim around the base and all the sharp edges from the tops. To support his head, I've just cut a little cake card into a circle and I'm placing some straws in to the height of the cake. I'm only using 3 as it's just us, but if you are making this for a client who is transporting it, you may want to add a few more. I've then stuck my cake card down with ganache. On my working mat, I have another 5-inch cake, which I'm just stacking separately, and I'm doing the same thing, cutting it into a round shape for his head. You do want to go a little bit smaller for this one. I'm then adding more ganache on the top of that card to place his head on, and I'm checking the size towards the size of the body, slowly taking bits off at a time to make sure it's more in proportion. Once you're happy with the shape, coat the whole thing in a rough layer of chocolate ganache. As always, you know that this seals the freshness of the cake in, but as the ganache starts to set, it will keep your shape more secure and less wobbly. I'm then using my acetate smoother on the second layer of ganache to start smoothing out the contours of the shape. At this stage, you could turn it into any character you wanted, really. Now I went and lost the footage of me covering the head, but I've just covered the top ball in sugar paste and airbrushed it blue. And now I'm about to add the clothing to the bottom ball. Instead of covering this all in one, I'm adding an ivory patch to the front, which is on the original Roald character, tucking it under with one of my smoothers. Once that's on, I'm just going to cut it down whilst we add on a deep red waistcoat. I'm just applying a big sheet across the front and then carving out the V of the waistcoat. And also the points at the bottom. You'll want to cut through the waistcoat and that ivory piece, so you can take the ivory pieces out from underneath and then the points will sit flush in the ivory. So that's his little waistcoat on, and at this point I'm going to cover the board using the toilet seat method. The full tutorial for this is always linked in the description box, and the reason I'm adding this now is because when I go to add the coat, it's going to rest on the board, so we want that to be covered first. You can't beat these old school tools. I've had this set since I pretty much started, and they still always come in handy. I'll leave them linked below. They come in a pack of different shapes, but I'm just cutting a strip out to use as the lining around the edges of the waistcoat. You want to do the same on the other side so that the pattern matches up. I'm then grabbing some of my signature gold luster mixed with lemon extract to create a paint. And then just painting all over before placing on some squashed red balls for the buttons. I'm just taking a random strip of paste which I'm folding over on itself to create random ruffles. These are then added inside the V of the waistcoat with water. As you go further up, you just want to make longer strips to fill the gap. Just keep going until the whole space is filled. Now using the same red, I've cut a large rectangle and I'm wrapping it all around the back and overlapping the front for his coat. This is currently too big, but I'm just cutting it down to size with my scalpel. Now you see why we covered the board first, otherwise we would have tried to cover the board around this coat. Once you're happy with it, we're then going to add the same pattern around the neckline and trim. For his beak, I've taken a large chunk of yellow and I'm using the palms of my hands to press down either side to create little points. It's kind of like an elongated lemon shape. And I'm then teasing it upwards into a point with my hands. Once you have that shape, you just want to trim the bottom a bit more flat, defining that beak before placing it on his face with a cocktail stick to hold it and a bit of water. The flat area we cut is what I'm sticking against the head. He has huge eyes, so I've just cut these out of white with my circle cutters and also a very large black circle for the pupils. His details are pretty simple, with his feet being squashed ovals in yellow placed against the base. His arms are flattened sausages of red, which I'm just adhering to the side with water. And we're adding the same pattern again to the cuff, followed by smaller white ruffles emerging from the bottom of the sleeve. Just inside the sleeve, we're placing a blob of blue just for his tiny little flipper. Using the same yellow, I'm gently marking in circles with the end of a piping tip. I'm not cutting all the way through, I'm just adding the circles on as a guide. And then I'm joining those circles, cutting in a U shape between them for a crown. When cutting out the circles, you only want to cut across the top of the circles, and then you should be left with this shape. This has Tylo powder added to it, so it will set a bit firmer. You want to grab a cylinder. I was lucky that the Wilton tub of sprinkles come in handy for this, and you just want to lay your crown shape around it, carefully standing it up to create your shape. I'm just making sure that my crown isn't resting too heavily on the sprinkle tub, as I don't want it to stick. You can always add lots of icing sugar, which is what I did after this clip. The board is really simple. I'm just cutting out various triangles in different shades of green to mimic the pattern on the mood board. It's now the next day and my crown is just set enough to hold its shape, but not set so hard that I can't manipulate it a little bit. I'm just deciding if I want my crown in the middle or off to one side, before adding a little water around the base and gently pressing the crown down towards the head. Once it's on, I'm lining the base with a strip before painting the whole thing in the same gold. To complete it, I'm adding the same coloured gems as from the image, green and then the matching red from the coat, and he's all done. I know I didn't get round to putting the font on the board, which would have been the name and the age. But as usual, I was running out of time. I was just happy to get this cake finished early, as she usually gets all her birthday cakes really late, way after her birthday. So here is King Roald. I know it looks very odd, but it's exactly what she wanted. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please leave me a comment below and I'll see you again in a little while. Thanks guys.